Hey guys, Simon here. Now, several weeks ago, I did a video talking about the Great Firewall, and under the comment section, some of my fellow Chinese have said that they think that China will soon turn off the Great Firewall and let everyone use their internet freely. And this kind of belief is actually not rare. In China, a lot of people believe that the Great Firewall is designed to protect us from the Western ideology. But once the country becomes powerful enough, people shall have more confidence in our own system, and at that time, the Western value will not be a threat anymore. Thus, the Great Firewall is no longer needed. Then it will be taken down. However, I'm just not as optimistic as some of my fellow Chinese. And let me try to explain why I think taking down the Great Firewall is much harder than they think. So first of all, in China, a lot of policy and regulation just won't work without the help of the Great Firewall. For instance, in China, for any movie, TV show, and any piece of music, if they want to be aired in China, even on the internet, they will need to pass the review from the National Radio and Television Administration. So during the whole process of making a movie or a show, from the beginning to the end, the crew will strictly follow the administration's guideline in order to maximize their chance of passing the review. But even by doing so doesn't necessarily guarantee they can pass the review. So if a movie or TV show fails to get the approval, what usually will happen is that the director will try to modify and delete some of the sensitive content and apply for review again. So long story short, passing the review from the administration is a painstaking process. However, if people in China can just watch any movies or listen to any music from overseas websites such as Netflix and Spotify, then a lot of small independent filmmakers or musicians probably won't even bother to follow the guideline from the administration, because just like I've mentioned, there are a ton of restrictions and the content you can make in China is extremely limited under those restrictions. So when you can just put your work on an international platform and people can still enjoy your content from those places, why not just do that instead of compromising your work in order to follow that strict regulation, right? But if this kind of thing becomes a trend, everyone start doing it, without the help of the Great Firewall, the administration will inevitably lose some of its control to the music and the movie that people can access online. Now, in China, not only movie and TV shows are strictly controlled, but actually every single piece of information is under the jurisdiction of the Cyberspace Administration of China. So whenever there is some sensitive information on your website or social media platform, the administration can ask you to take it down. But actually, most of the Chinese social media and website will have a team to self-censor their content. Because when the administration finds out that there is some sensitive information on your website that get quite popular, then it might be too late for you. Your business will get some serious punishment. For instance, Weibo, the Chinese version of Twitter, although they have been self-censoring the information on their platform, still they got fined by the administration from time to time. And we all know TikTok, right? The app is made by a company called ByteDance. And before TikTok, ByteDance used to have another very successful app in China. And it got more than 100 million active users. But because it failed to meet our administration's regulation, the entire app completely vanished over one night. So just imagine if there's no Great Firewall and millions of Chinese start using Facebook and Instagram, if there is some sensitive information floating around those websites, what shall our administration do? Are they gonna contact Facebook and try to ask them to take down some of the content? And what if they don't agree to do it? What is going to happen? Our administration will not be able to maintain the same level of control without the help of the Great Firewall. And now let's talk about this from the business perspective. If people in China can access all those websites outside of China without using a VPN, what does that mean to our Chinese internet companies? Like I've mentioned before, because all Chinese internet companies need to follow the strict regulation from our Cyberspace Administration, the thing that we can discuss and the content we can create on those platforms are very limited. If you ever make videos and try to upload onto those Chinese video platforms, you know how frustrating it is. However, if everyone can use YouTube, Twitter without using a VPN, then a lot of people are just gonna stop uploading their stuff to those domestic platforms. Instead, they will probably all come to those international counterparts and make videos and talk about whatever they want there. Actually, this kind of shift already start happening today. While the Great Firewall is still there, we got more and more Chinese coming to YouTube and start making content here because the level of freedom we have here is just much higher. So if one day the wall got taken down, there is just no way for our internet companies to compete with their Western competitors with so many restrictions that they need to follow. It's just like trying to have a fist fight with Mike Tyson while your hands are tied together, right? So at the end of the day, I think there's only one possible solution. Without bringing the wall back, the administration gradually loosen the restriction and give more freedom to the Chinese internet company. But under the current political environment, I really don't think it will happen anytime soon. Now, speaking to the political environment, it usually can give you a hint of the direction the government is heading. If the government really plans to open the internet in the near future, then it probably won't happen in one night, right? Usually the government will take a small step first, try to get their feet wet to see if it actually works, then gradually start opening up. But just take a look at the current level of freedom we have on the Chinese internet. The level is not going up, it is actually going down. There are more and more topics that you can't touch on the Chinese internet. Just several weeks ago, I took a look at the post I wrote 10 years ago on Weibo. I was surprised by the level of freedom we got 10 years ago on the Chinese internet. Today, just to be completely honest with you guys, I dare not to make the same post that I made 10 years ago. So yeah, the current policy our government is implementing really doesn't make me feel like they are planning to take down the Great Firewall anytime soon. Now, last but not least, even in the future, there are some voices inside the government that support shutting down the Great Firewall. But who is going to make that exact decision? Is it going to be the minister of our cyberspace administration? I don't think he can take that responsibility. In fact, I don't think anyone can take the responsibility to make that decision. If you know the basics about Chinese politics, you know upholding the stability of the country is the #1 priority of the government. And taking down the wall just doesn't look like a move that a government which values stability over literally everything will do. The uncertainty behind the decision is just too much. What will happen after the war goes down? How do the government make sure the public still has the right ideology? And what does that mean to the country's economy? I really don't think anyone can make that bold move. So if we can address those issues, we probably won't see the war go down in the next 2 or 3 decades. And I'm pretty sure there are many other barriers that I haven't mentioned above. Of course, there are some partial solutions. The government can loosen the firewall a little bit, maybe unblock some of the international websites that don't contain a lot of sensitive information. But if you ask me if we will be able to watch YouTube without using a VPN in the near future, I'm gonna say the answer is no. Now, personally, I hope I was wrong. I really wish the Great Firewall can be taken down in the foreseeable future because I believe opening the internet will not only help us to understand the outside world, but it will also help the world to know China better, eventually to clear some misunderstanding and hopefully have less hatred between the two. And an open internet will not only attract more foreign investment and companies, but also help our Chinese internet company gain trust among other countries and their people. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Do you think China will soon take down the Great Firewall or not? Please let me know under the comment section, alright? So yeah, once again, if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'm probably gonna catch you on the next one, alright? Peace.